Hello, I'm John Michaels, and this is my wife Jeannie and our daughter Jennings. We're the Michaels. We're your typical ordinary American family who took an extraordinary trip to Sri Lanka thanks to Wayne Brown, CEO of Aggressor Adventures. You see, Wayne approached me to write a theme song for Aggressor, and in return would send the Michaels to Sri Lanka to experience a once-in-a-lifetime safari. How could I pass this up? I immediately picked up my guitar and began composing. After a month of pacing the floors, late night writing sessions, I finally nailed it, and with the help of several of my closest friends, recorded the song and presented it live at a special Aggressor event. At the end of this video, I'll share the final Aggressor theme song and video, but for now, follow me as I show you some amazing shots from our trip to Sri Lanka. Our trip began from Atlanta, Georgia, where we boarded Qatar Airlines and flew for 14 hours straight to the country of Qatar and the city of Doha. Once we landed, we were amazed how beautiful the airport was. We had heard the terminal was very cosmopolitan with lots of duty-free shops. We'd also heard about a very large teddy bear, and they were not kidding. Once back in the air, we had another 5-hour flight to Sri Lanka in the city of Colombo with an arrival time of 3:45 a.m. Once we arrived at the terminal, we said hello to Buddha.
We've been en route for a day and a half.
Yeah, 30 hours to get here.
And found our way to the exit where our driver was waiting for us. By the time we made it to our hotel room, it must have been 4:45 a.m. and we were ready for some sleep.
I know, I'm tired.
Up with the sun to see a beautiful view from our room, a quick walk on the beach, and then Aggressor booked us on a tuk-tuk tour. You're going to spend a whole day in Colombo before heading to the lodge, and a tuk-tuk tour is the only way to go.
My name is Shane.
Shane, and you are from Sri Lanka?
Driving in a tuk-tuk in the city of Colombo is organized chaos. Crazy, but totally safe. They even smile at you when they're honking at you. Some of the many sights you'll see in Colombo are the presidential palace, small shops, churches, street vendors, monuments, beautiful architecture, parks, the many different neighborhoods, temples, statues, trains, and beautiful beaches. It's really a sight to see. What was really cool was taking a walk down one of the many bustling streets and just people watching. As you can see, Jennings was soaking it all in. So many diverse cultures, all interwoven and working together in harmony. Everybody proudly displaying their wares. There were Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Catholics, Jews, all living and working in a beautiful way. One act of kindness caught my attention. This old, feeble woman looking hesitant about crossing the road, and then a stranger stopping to help her across. People being kind to people. Very, very cool. At one point, Shane, our tuk-tuk driver, treated us to fresh coconut juice. It was really good. The entire day was so much fun, and we hadn't even started our safari. The best was yet to come. The next morning, Aggressor sent a van to pick us up at 8 a.m. sharp for the 3-hour drive north to the Aggressor Safari Lodge. And how was the drive? Well, see for yourself.
My name is Lucky.
But we call him Lucky.
Lucky.
Lucky. That's good.
One thing we noticed along our drive were many Buddhist temples. Lucky, our driver, wanted to stop at one of them to have a sweet treat, sugarcane, fresh sugarcane. We also took a moment to look at all the colorful, almost cartoon-like figures that adorn many of the Buddhist temples across Sri Lanka. We eventually turned off the main highway onto a dirt road and made our way to the Aggressor Safari Lodge. And as the gates opened and we drove through, it felt like we were in our own Fantasy Island episode. David Holmes, the owner of the lodge, along with his staff, were there to welcome us to his amazing 5-star tent safari. The only thing missing was Little Tattoo, yelling, "The plane! The plane!"
The sides, again, you get the grey Angus. That looks small, but they're big. I mean,
Really?
We get these ones, and occasionally we get these ones. We get every day or every second day. Troop of 50. They sort of just they have the same area. They just keep going around and around and around.
After meeting with David and the staff, and a short briefing about the lodge, and a quick cooling off drizzle from Mother Nature, we made our way to our tent, and as you can see, it was absolutely stunning, both inside and out. This was our view from our deck. And if you don't mind a little hike, this is another view from other tents that face the Kala Oya River, which borders the Wilpatu National Park, giving the guest a beautiful tranquil setting for their morning coffee. A word of caution though, you don't want to swim in the river, as there are crocs and other jungle animals swimming by. Next to the animals, the main attraction of the Aggressor Safari Lodge has got to be the chef and his culinary feast that is served at every meal, breakfast and dinner. Just look at this spread, it's amazing. After sitting down and enjoying our lunch, we were back on the road heading to Wilpatu National Park. We had a good 3 hours, and our guide Marlon was taking us to his favorite spots for what he said would be an exciting afternoon. As you can see, it was very dry. The wet season had come and gone. Still, the park was teeming with peacocks, eagles, giant lizards or land monitors, crocodiles, and a whole assortment of birds. After several minutes of driving, eventually we ended up at the first watering hole, and just like Marlon said, we had our first big sighting. A single male bull elephant cooling himself off. It was very cool.
Those are like fingerprints.
After a while, Marlon got word of a sloth bear in the area and we were off. When we finally arrived, we got there just in time to see the bear come out of the brush and leisurely make its way over for a drink of water. Here's a little bit of trivia. Roger Kipling's The Jungle Book, his inspiration for Baloo, the bear, was a sloth bear. After watching the sloth bear, we had about an hour left before the park closed, and Marlon, our guide, was determined to find leopards. We drove around to another watering hole, and talk about luck, there she was, just sitting there. As she walked away, we watched her cross the road and followed her down the road, and we couldn't believe what we were seeing. Her cubs, wow. Wait for it. Yep, little Junior, lagging behind. By this time, it was time to leave the park, and we started the Jeep to head out when one of the guides saw a barking deer in the field. But look what else we saw. This was intense. Eventually, the leopard darted behind a termite mound, and this was the last we saw of him. We had to leave because the park was closing. The next morning, we were up early and heading to another part of Sri Lanka called Sigiriya, or Lion's Rock. It's a huge rock in the middle of nowhere. And this morning's activity? Climbing. Lots of climbing, over 2,000 steps. This is some of what we saw. Three-quarters of the way up, we hit a rest stop before the final trek to the top.
Don't drop that.
Once we reached the top, the view was tremendous, and not for just us, but for the animals too. We were all mesmerized. It's a beautiful place. If you make it to Sri Lanka, you'll definitely want to go to Sigiriya. It's beautiful. Now for the climb down. When we finally finished the climb and walking back to our van, we came across this snake charmer serenading his pet cobra. Later, I came to learn that the locals are discouraging this kind of activity in support of better treatment for the wildlife. Oh, and by the way, the snakes are defanged. But take a look. After leaving Sigiriya, we had another big game encounter at a national park called Mineria. For me, this was my favorite place. The beauty, the serenity, the wide open space, and of course the elephants. And we're talking lots of elephants. Supposedly, this is the largest concentration of Asian elephants anywhere. What was so cool was how close we were, at most 150 feet, and they seemed very content with our presence. So much so, at times they would get within 10 feet of us and act as if we weren't even there. But there were some small herds that kept off to themselves, and they were very protective of their space, and we showed them great respect. Not sure if you can see, but the elephants here are surrounding a recent newborn. It's just beautiful. Our last stop for the day was a very famous temple where the Bodhi tree lives. Buddhism is widely practiced in Sri Lanka, and we paid our respects to the Buddha. I learned that Buddhism is not considered a religion, but a philosophy, and a belief that all living things, both man and animal, have souls and a place in heaven. We took a moment to give our thanks and to pray for a safe passage home. There's so much to see in Sri Lanka, including these monkeys, and I feel very blessed that I was able to take my family there for a mere song. Speaking of a song, here is the final theme song for Aggressor. Enjoy.
You want adventure, you want thrills, dive with sharks, swim with whales, come explore, come aboard Aggressor. You want animals, untamed, Aggressor safaris, got game, come explore, come aboard Aggressor. Don't be nervous, it's 5-star service, think champagne in the wild. Come find your muse on a river cruise. Get this means adventure of a lifetime. Come aboard, come explore the wonders of the world. What are you